I am Rick Brignall. I'm the new museum curator at the Lake of the Woods Museum in Kenora, Ontario. I started the job about September 3rd, 2024. And I don't know if it's a dream come true, but as an adult, it's probably one of the jobs that I never thought I'd have. But I'm very excited to be here and to now be a part of a great team to expand Kenora's history. Lake of the Woods history, actually, just not Kenora. So it's Lake of the Woods history. Always liked history, always found it interesting. I always find things interesting when you didn't know about it, then you learn about it. Kind of like a surprise thing. Always loved archaeology and anthropology. But growing up, as anyone else, a boy growing up in Kenora, loved hockey. So I always loved hockey. My dad, who's from Kenora, would always talk about it. He played hockey, but he always talked about hockey history and Kenora's hockey history. And so I always had an interest in the past when it comes to hockey. I loved playing it, but it always fascinated me what came before. And that's what this whole place is about, is researching and telling stories of what came before. So with hockey specifically, one Christmas I got a set of hockey cards from my parents. It was from Sears, and it was the Hockey Hall of Fame set of hockey cards. And the set had a picture of the person who was inducted, then a write-up in the back. And I always found it very interesting that in that pack of hockey cards were all of these players that played for the Kenora Thistles, where I'm from. There was Kenora Thistle teams when I was growing up, and learning that they won the Stanley Cup, all these great things that are kind of the pinpoint parts of hockey greatness these people in Kenora did. And just combining with my dad's stories about growing up in Kenora. A lot of the stories growing up in Kenora about my dad were very interesting. But I kind of went to the hockey part because I was really interested in sports and sport like baseball and hockey specifically. But at one point in high school, I kind of wanted to be a science fiction author because that's my other part of me. I'm a sports geek, but I'm also a science fiction geek. Like, I loved it all, and I kind of geared myself that at one point I'm like, I want to be a science fiction author or an author who writes. So when I was in university, every university has their own student newspaper. So part of my whole thing about becoming something, or when I want to do something, I do lots of research into it. So one of the things with writing is you have to write. And one good way is just to do any writing, just to actually do it. Just not think about it, do it. So with that, I went into the student newspaper of the University of Manitoba, and they were like, well, we don't need any science fiction stuff done. What else do you like? I'm like, well, I love sports. So from that moment on, I became a sports journalist. And a lot of people know me as that because I was a sports journalist for a while. And also, I always had the interest in sports, playing sports and researching sports. So kind of the foundation of me being at the museum is that love of sports history specifically, but just history in general. Because whenever you're doing any research into anything, when you start doing the research, you kind of have a base idea what you're researching about. Kenora won the Stanley Cup. But when you start looking into it, deep diving into it, you're finding so much stuff. So you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not unearthing clay pots in the Mesopotamia, but I'm reading old issues of the Winnipeg Free Press, finding out about history that no one's thought about or continued to think about, over 100 years later. So it's like that whole fact-finding, research diving, trying to find out as much about topics that really drove me. And even though sports is my foundation, it goes beyond that, being that I am born and raised in Kenora, and born on, because it is a small town, we usually know a lot about what the goings on are in the town, who lived where, what house, all of that type of stuff. So I always had that interest in the area history, and this just kind of takes it to the next level where I can follow those interests and get other people excited and interested in history, which is probably one of my main things, because one of my earliest things that I did with, and we can probably get into this later, what I did with my history research is I wrote kids' books, and the whole part of that, writing kids' books, was to get them not only knowing about a topic that might have been forgotten or some social issue, but also just to get them excited about history. I'm always excited to learn about history. This job's pretty exciting for me in that way. So part of my job is just to get other people interested and excited about local history and finding out about new things.